Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com, is brought to you by AP Laser, leading the way. Steel Rubber Products, quality crafted rubber parts and weather stripping. And by RockAuto.com, all the parts your car will ever need.
That's right, it's electric. Welcome back to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. Well, it is time to take a look at some drive axles and a transaxle, and how is that system actually working? Well, you guys are familiar with this rear differential. We actually looked at it in show 1 of Tech Garage. We did some Lincoln stuff. So right here is what's going on. This is the actual pinion that goes back to here, and then it actually ties into the ring gear right here. So what, you have a drive shaft on a rear-wheel drive car coming back, connecting to the pinion, turning the ring gear, and your axles go out and drive. We've done that a few times, but what we haven't seen here is a constant velocity or CV axle. This is pretty cool. So this is the one right here on our Leaf, and this is the exact one on our Leaf. We're gonna go ahead and follow the bulletin, and if that doesn't fix it, no worries. RockAuto.com has us covered with a brand new axle. We'll just go replace it totally, but we're gonna follow the bulletin to a T. But here's the deal. On one side of this, you have an actual plunge joint. So that goes in and out. Why does it go in and out? Well, it has to change effective lengths according to suspension movement, because this is fixed to the actual chassis. Out here is actually to the frame. It's gonna move back and forth. So this one's fixed. This one's gonna flex back and forth with the actual chassis. Now on this side, it's a fixed joint. And I'll get to that in a second, but take a look at this graphic right here. You can see you either have a tripod tulip, which we have on the inner one, I'll show you in a second, and then the double offset or a cross groove on the inside. So that's pretty neat. You actually want to see how it works? Well, once again, in true Tech Garage fashion, here we go. We actually took one apart and cut it away. Now remember, you have a bunch of grease inside of here in these boots. So there's another diagnostic for you. If this boot rips and your grease flies out, you got a problem. Or if you're turning and it's clicking, very characteristic of a bad CV axle. Now here's our tripod right there. You can see it run back and forth. And what's going on here, you got these bearings that are riding in all that grease that's encased in this boot. And bam, I'm changing length with suspension. This side, though, is actually fixed. You can see it as I turn it back and forth. This is the actual fixed joint. This is connected to the spindle, and when you turn the car, this is what turns. But you're continuously getting constant velocity, or your CV joint keeps you driving along. How does it all work? Well, it wouldn't be Tech Garage if I wouldn't explain it thoroughly. So here we go. Right here I have a transaxle assembly. Not a transmission, a little bit different. Why is it different? Well, on this side, I actually have the engine feeding the input right here. So my engine's feeding power right here. When it goes through this input shaft, check this out. I'll drive it around for you. And you can see on this side, I'm coming into the input here, and with the chain that goes all the way around, I'm actually connecting to the transmission components. Now from here, back is pretty much the same. And earlier this season, Dave gave you a good lesson, Dave and Josh showed you how a transmission works, but I can show it to you right here. So if I get to the back of this transmission, you can see what's going on. I start right here with all the planetary gear sets, the bands, the planetary gear sets. Now everything stops right here. Because it's a transaxle, the axle's built in right here. So this is the spider gears you would see in a normal differential, and our leaf splined right here. Goes into there, pops out, comes out to the actual drive axle, front wheel, and you're ready to drive. Speaking of ready to drive, we need to check in with them. I hope they got our Leaf ready to drive.
And that is the kind of explanation you get when you're working with a certified master technician and a college professor. Well done, John. Now it's our turn, Josh, to put this all back together here.
That's right.
Yeah, so I need to push the axle back here, and you can do it with your hand, but it's not a good idea.
Yeah, it'll probably be seized up a little bit.
Yeah, and it could really hurt your hand. You want to get yourself a little more surface area, and you just put it, and you want to protect the threads too. This way, if you need to push it with your hand, you can, but sometimes it's frozen up, you give it a little whack. Nice. I think ours is pretty free, so I'll just push it here.
That's good.
There it is.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have the grease that it calls for, the moly grease that the TSB says we need to put on there. I have my favorite tool in the shop, handy dandy paintbrush.
We call it moly because we can't pronounce molybdenum. Yeah.
All right, we're going to go ahead and paint the inside of these spline threads. If you can push in on it a little bit.
Push in?
Yeah, there you go. Good, I'm getting in there.
Okay.
All right, maybe even rotate the rotor. That'll help me out some. I'll get it all the way around the splines.
Easier said than done here.
Oh, come on, Dave.
Get a little pry bar to help us out. You ready?
Molly coat on here.
You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
See if you can turn it. Perfect.
Okay.
Put that in on the splines.
Alrighty.
If you go ahead and rotate a little bit more.
You know, a lot of folks are intimidated by electric cars, like we said earlier, but really, you know, outside of the power plant, everything's just the same. And you're still dealing with mechanical stuff.
Rotate
You're
a
still
little more.
dealing with the systems that have been in place for a long, long time.
Right, I don't have to worry about the CV axle shocking me. Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. Haven't developed the electrical CV joint yet.
All right.
Is that
I think
good?
that'll get it. Yeah, that's
All right.
everything. Good.
Very good.
I think all we need to do now is just tighten the nut down
Okay.
a little bit, snug it up, and then we can torque it after that.
All right, I'm gonna run it down here. Watch your ears. That'll do it. I got you.
Dude.
Sorry, man. I had to do it. All right, now we're going to use that same nut. And in case you're wondering, 1 5/16. And we've got it torqued to 89,
89.
yeah, according to the TSB.
Go ahead and wedge this in.
Yeah, you got to hold that because otherwise I'll be
There you go.
pulling against nothing. Here we go. And the 89's a lot, so you may have to hang on this here. There it is.
Perfect.
Okay. And we are good to go. We'll button this up and we'll be done. We're going to do that during the break. And when we come back, a little Garage Ed talking about power steering pumps. So stay tuned to Tech Garage, presented by RockAuto.com. All right, here we go, Josh.